Hello, hello. Gotta remember that I have two buttons, one for the Windows computer and one for this Mac. But good morning. Hopefully your days are all going good. We're almost to Friday. We're getting close there. Personally, I can't wait. The weekend is always so nice after a long week. The Rain Man. Hello. Good morning. All right. So, what are we working on today? You get GraphQL type stuff. And then last night, I was taking a look into how we can set up Auth0 to Hasura and get that going. So I had to spend some time learning about actions in Auth0 and how to like add in some codes and keys and other things to the user profile that we get when we hit the user info script or info API. It's not intuitive. The documentation is like great for a lot of things. It is not very good for that. So they have a little bit of work to do in that department. All right, so we are going to be working on front end stuff, and we need database stuff already set up too. So let's get the database part first. So we have yeah, I don't have Docker always start at launch. I probably want to change that, but let's get that going. And then this should work, no problem. There we go. And we're gonna go to Yew.rs playground. Just a habit to always do a git pull, even though this is the only computer I'm doing this on, just a habit, just in case. You're always amazed at how much space Docker containers take up on a hard drive. Yeah, it's fun because like the layer system is, I think like initially was supposed to help with that, but then the layers all have something different, and so like it doesn't really work. It's just okay, multiple gigabytes. Okay. I heard that Podman might be a little bit better about that, and I'm sort of like waiting for something like npm. What's that new thing that like the new npm replacement that like combines all of the sort of like the modules together into like one, so that way it doesn't take all the space in your drive for npm. Something like that for Docker would be amazing. What are we doing? We're doing start. All right, yes, yesterday we had looked into and we found potentially this crate. So GraphQL client. We're gonna look into this one today. And it works in a browser with WebAssembly, which is that is absolutely required for this. Optional request-based client for boilerplate-free API calls from browsers. Okay, that could be really interesting if it works. Okay, once you have written your query, most likely in something like GraphQL, save it in a .graphql file in our project. So to me, that means we're going to need a queries section here. So let's actually create a queries file. Queries dot GraphQL. In order to provide precise types for response, GraphQL client needs to read the query and the schema at compile time. To download the schema, you have multiple options. This project provides a CLI. However, it does not matter what tool you use. The resulting schema.json is the same. We now have everything we need. Okay, so we need the CLI to download a schema and put it somewhere. Oh, okay, and we're gonna tell it exactly where it is too. Nice. I vaguely remember this. We took a look at GraphQL as a client to connect to Hasura from a backend before, but not yet from a front end. Okay, so they have GraphQL clients CLI. Why do we have to do force? This is still a work in project. The main use for it now is to download the schema.json from a GraphQL endpoint, which you can also do with the Apollo CLI. Oh, okay, but we might as well use this one. And I think we have to do this once every time we change the server, which means that it shouldn't be too often. But I can maybe, like, for a deployment feature type thing, we can maybe set this up in like a CI/CD pipeline. Possibly when we change the when we change the database schema, then we want to trigger anything that's relying upon it to also update this and then recompile. And redeploy. That might work. Something to like consider at later. Okay, if you want to use formatting feature, you should install like this. Cargo install GraphQL CLI, which is not really any different than this up here. All right, let's install this. What's GraphQL doing then? Creating docs in an endpoint for an API. So like what is GraphQL like actually doing behind the scenes? It's really cool. So it's it's basically there some level of docs, although like not necessarily human readable docs. There's some little things that you can get from it that make it a lot easier, and like some tools can then create good docs from that. The tool we're using is called Hasura, and so they're doing a little bit more than just pure GraphQL. We can actually go take a look at it now. I need to use this computer for that, please. Let's go to localhost 8000 is our Hasura console. You are keyboard cat. Keyboard Zilby. Yeah, keyboard Zilby. Okay, so this is the local host, the one that I've got running in that Docker container. And so what it's doing behind the scenes is it's creating. There's a way for me to see. Yes, I know. I don't have a real GraphQL query there. Like it creates the docs for me. Where else? It sort of is aware of the database and like how this works. Oh, every time I load this up, do I have to? No, I don't. It is aware of this. Okay, that's fine. Excuse me. Let's see. And triggers don't need to worry about. There's something in here that allows me to see it. Maybe they removed it. Thought it was in here. But maybe you can't see it anymore. So see, pretty of that. Just see the history of what I've done. The Explorer is kind of important for building these. Code export is interesting, but like, actually, like code export might make it so that we don't need any like GraphQL type thing whatsoever, because this just basically creates what we're going to use. Oh, so okay, hold on. Let's first create a valid query for this. A lot of things seems to need it. So we're gonna have query. So query get games. That query name can be just whatever you want. It doesn't really need. It needs to have something, but it doesn't. What it is doesn't really matter. Then games, so that's what I want to get. I can change it by using like wheres or like some of these sort of like change how it works. Like I can get the limit of them, I can or set the order. I don't need to, so now I want the ID and I want the name. And so that's my query. And so if I look at code exporter now, this is, for example, how to do this with fetch. If I did this manually with no libraries whatsoever. So this is always an option. Like if absolutely necessary, I can pre-create the queries and I could just write them and just it'll work. I don't think there's any other. I can see all these different things that it's done behind the scenes. So there used to be a way for me to look at all of the stuff that it's created. And I think they took that away because nobody cared about it. Because I don't see this at all, unless like there's no. Yeah, I think they took it away. There used to be one more thing here where you can just sort of explore the like all the types that they created behind the scenes. It is gone now. Like, interesting. Like, you can actually see, like, this is behind the scenes, what it's turning into. This SQL query. Yash, hello. But yeah, so like the Hasura uses GraphQL, and GraphQL then is basically a standard that is okay, creates these endpoints, creates like all these things to translate this query language to whatever language your database needs to call it. So a lot of people use GraphQL in front of a NoSQL database like Mongo or DynamoDB, but Hasura has taken the opposite side, and it's actually it provides with almost no work on our part GraphQL API over a relational database like Postgres or MySQL. That was super nice because now I can basically have like users and other things have relations in here, and the relations would just show up inside of here. It's absolutely amazing. The more complex the data structure is, the easier it is. Like, the complexity doesn't rise with the SQL query that we need to do. I love it. All right, so what we want to do is come back here. Okay, so we installed our client here. I assume that worked, right? It did. Okay, so introspect schema, generate client code. So this is what I want. Get the schema from a live GraphQL API. The schema is printed to standard out. So then I can, oh, looks like I can put output somewhere else. Okay, so usage, GraphQL client, introspect the schema. So let's cd into, I assume this needs to be in the source code. Although it says it's going to read that at compile time, so that it might not need this in the source code. And I might expect it to be outside of it, sort of like a .env file. If I create sort of just GraphQL directory, I kind of want to now move our queries into GraphQL. Okay, so you're still in there. Let's cd into GraphQL. Let's run this. All right, so flags. Don't need any flags. Options. Authorization, set the contents of the authorization header. And then authorization. Okay. So we have set up, I think it's keyboard Zilby. No, normally this would be a terrible idea to use for what is it called, like on the CLI, because it then goes into my history, but this is like the local dev version, so I'm not really all that worried. When we do this for the real one, we're gonna have, I guess we're gonna have to do this in like GitHub Actions or something, and use secrets so that it hides it and doesn't display it, and then that runner just dies and everything is good. Specify custom headers. I don't think I need to because I think authorization already knows what to do. And then output. So output should be standard out, but we can then do an output to a file. So where to write it? I want to write this to maybe like schema.json. The following required arguments were not provided. Oh, schema location. Oh, the URL of the graph. Okay, yeah, well, that's kind of important. You tell me that this is where we're going. Access denied. Okay, so message X Hasura admin secret. Okay, so this is the authorization. Because okay, so request headers, we see, I guess I need to add this in also. I guess it's not working. So I guess we need to do header and then set that. There we go. Okay, so we set the header, and here is this schema that Hasura has created for us. Sometimes, like, it's really nice to use a tool to like generate this automatically for us. Otherwise, like this would be terrible for us to do ourselves. So this also tells it what the relationships are and what the just basically everything we need. So we have the schema. We can come back to here now. Okay, so we can use a procedural macro. Okay, so we're going to create queries like this. Oh, okay. So save it in a GraphQL file, and then we're going to have a query written in here. So here's our query. We're going to come into our so actually it sounds like these are this is going to be like get games. And I wonder if it's going to be one query per file, or if we could just have like one file with multiple queries and it knows how to find that out. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be. The drive will generate a module named Union Query in this example. The name is the struct's name, but in the snake case. The module contains all the struct and enum definitions necessary to deserialize a response to that query. The root type for the response is named response data. The GraphQL response will take the form of a response. The response type is always the same. Okay, so this is going to be our request. So derive GraphQL query, GraphQL schema path, query path, response derives debug. And then, okay, so we have our union query here. So this is our queries. Okay, I think I get it. So we can maybe create another file in here called query. This can actually maybe be, our mod.rs will be the queries itself. So we're going to first derive GraphQL query. Oh, we need it. We kind of need to pull this in, don't we? That would be helpful. Okay, so we drive GraphQL query. Then we want to do this. Okay, so GraphQL as a function. Oh, wait, I think I saw it. This. Okay. Then we'll have schema path. And then, okay, so interesting, it's under test. So I wonder if that is like all the way from the outside. Because if I try to tell it exactly where this is right now, so. Now I put this in JSON because I thought that's what I was getting out, but maybe not. It is a string, so we're gonna set schema JSON, maybe. Okay, then query path. UR get games dot GraphQL. And if I want a response derives debug. Sure. And debug. I can leave you with that. That gives a union query. Okay, so then we can have an async function perform my query. So we can do union query. So union query build query, pass it in whatever variables, which is a type. Okay, so they generate. Oh, variables is the type generated under the schema. Actually, I'm kind of confused about where this is coming from. Okay. So build query, pass in any variables we have. So GraphQL, there's like a variable system for it. This query right now, we're not using it, but we can experiment with that. Client. Okay, so request, client new. You're pulling in request just from itself. Client post to, well, I would assume where the actual GraphQL API is. JSON is going to be this request body. Send await. Okay, we call JSON and have it turned into this thing, and then we can print line it. So what I want to do is when the page loads for GraphQL, we're going to do this. So we have this page right here. We can do a use effect for onload. Everything else is compile time, like setting it up. So maybe we can just do this once at like our initial runtime too. Okay, so okay, so first off, we build the query. So that's going to be get games. Oh, okay, so use create GraphQL get games. So no function found for that. Well, that's too bad. But I don't know if that's actually a real problem or if that's Rust Analyzer not figuring it out. Because like that's also a possibility. Okay, can I just debug that? Can I, like, is this text? Can I just do something like, you're also showing an error here. Failed to generate GraphQL query. Impl could not find file with path. Okay, so it actually is a problem here. Could not find file with path. File paths in a GraphQL query attribute are relative to the project root. Okay, so it wants these out here. So let's try this. I'm going to rename you to GraphQL queries. So yes, you get updated. You get updated. Okay, that's great. Now you need to know where the schema is. So I'm thinking out here. we create a new file, and this becomes GraphQL queries, or maybe just like GraphQL. No, I wanted a folder. So I put GraphQL in here, and then I put the get games, GraphQL, and then the schema goes in here too. Then you are going to be GraphQL / schema. GraphQL / get games. Parse error at 1:1. Unexpected end of input expected. Open query mutation subscription or fragment. So that's looking at this, I think. Or this. Oh. Okay. So we're going to do query get games. I want to make sure it like tries to reload that file now. Ooh. Oh no, it's still reloading. Maybe it worked. All right. Build query. It doesn't know what it's getting, but it got it. Okay. So now so not really like displaying anything like I sort of was thinking that it might. I don't really know what this is. Okay, but now we can do a client request new. Okay, so then we need an async, like just basically an async thing to run. You know what thing we haven't done yet? Well, okay, let me first do it the way we know we can do it, and then I wanna play with the use hooks crate also, because that might make things a little bit easier for us. But okay, so we have the wasm bind gen futures. Spawn local. Futures can be an async. And I can actually build this in here. So I don't even need to move. Then we're gonna do a post to here. Okay, so if I do a Oh, I don't think I have this in an environment variable yet, so we'll get in there soon. I'll just hard code this for right this second. Now we have to add in the JSON, which is going to be the request body. We also have to add in the headers, which is sort of missing here. So add in a header, and the key is going to be this thing. And keyboard Zilby. Then we say we're going to add in JSON, and this is going to be the games. No, the games query. Oh, wait, request. Yeah. Just a reference to that, okay? Then send and await. Okay, then we do all of that stuff. Okay, so then we have response body, response. Okay, so union query. So from that module, we're going to get response data. Okay, so then we're going to do a JSON. JSON. So this is going to be get games response data. We await this and unwrap it again. And I think that's it. So now we have this response data here. I mean, I can't really do anything with this. This is, but oh, I should be able to grab something with it. If I do a glue console log response. Oh, I wonder, can I do like a filter? Filter. Wait, what am I thinking of? Not filter. Oh wait, my brain just had like a reset moment. I want to create a string format. That's what I want. My brain matched with the wrong F started word. Okay, so we start here, and I want. Can I just put in response like that? Would that allow me to like log out that thing, and then we don't even have a pre-tag? Okay, build query, you're upset. No function or associate item named build query found first struct to get games in a current scope. Oh, there is a trait for it, so we pull in that trait. This function takes 1 argument, but 0 arguments were supplied. Okay, so it needs the variables. So we need to create build query variables, which is from query body. So that's going to be get games variables there's like no new or anything like that. Wolfburst Dad, hello. I'm doing good. I'm looking forward. We're getting farther and farther in this research, so which is great. I am looking forward to sort of like actually getting this out there and going. Where is okay? So it doesn't show how to actually use that, but maybe we can find out in here. So we want the variables. This should be a generated struct most of the time. Okay, I mean, it doesn't hate this. So back to here. An immediate error. Panicked it called a result unwrap on an error. Sur de error missing field games. Line 1. Pages GraphQL line 22. So here's where the unwrap happened. I'm trying to say turn into games. Someone told you that Java is portable and C++ isn't. I think what he means is that Java by default compiles down to bytecode, which is executable on any platform, and with C++ you have to compile it for each platform. Oh yeah, so I remember this is old school type stuff. Like the main selling point of Java was portability, but what that really meant was that you wrote your code for a single target. Which was the Java virtual machine, the famous JVM. So you write your code for that one, and then Sun's job at the time was to build the JVM and have it run consistently on every single platform, which they claimed would also work on a web, which was an interesting thing and never really took off. But it allowed us to have basically a single language that was portable. The compiler people were doing a lot of work to make sure that worked kind of sort of across all the different platforms. And Java, like the JVM, installing that as a user was terrible because like there's so many security vulnerabilities. Still does. Like we still have to like update Java on our systems constantly. So that was fun. Joseph Furban, hello, welcome. Thank you for the raid. Joseph Furban, Jose? Probably Jose. How's your stream? And sorry about horrifically mispronouncing your name the first time I read that. I assume that you all made it through the advertisement gauntlet, maybe? Possibly? Rust in the front end. Yes, absolutely. Also, welcome. Thank you so much for the raid. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name, but if you were in the advertisements, then nobody can claim that happened. So how's your stream? What are you working on today? Stream was pretty good. Quick and hacky fixes on the Django codebase. Missing a Rust-like type system. Oh yeah, I have never worked with Django. I also assume that's how you pronounce it because I don't know if I've heard somebody pronounce it to me before. But Python is fun. I like Python. But as you say, Rust has a special place in my heart too. So as you can all see, we are working on a Yew.rs, which is a front-end framework for Rust developers. It is basically write everything in Rust, and it compiles to WebAssembly, and then there's a whole bunch of magic JavaScript that we don't have to touch that sort of makes it work behind the scenes. And so today we're looking at GraphQL because I really like to use GraphQL for the API interface. I don't know, I like it a lot more than traditional REST. Thank you so much again for the raid, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. So we're trying to figure this out. We just getting this error now that it's trying to get back to JSON. It's saying that missing field games. So we have games here. It's supposed to be like automatically creating a bunch of these, I think. Okay, so like here's where the schema is. So it finds this in GraphQL schema.json. So it should know that there is a games in here. It's 89 of them. Okay, so here's games object. Okay, so it should be able to figure that out. Now the query that I have that this is going for, like the query path, get games.graphql, so that's back here. That might be wrong. Okay, up here is where, yeah, get games here. Okay. So I'm just saying, so GraphQL get_games.graphql. Response derives debug. Obstruct get games. Okay, missing field games. I don't think anything else is going to touch my code at all. But I want to also say we probably did a post to here, and yeah, okay, so it did the request, and we got the list of games here. All right, so did I screw up my query? I wrote it by hand instead of grabbing it from here. It's exactly the same. So, okay. Do I need to have something? Oh, supposedly it works just fine with WebAssembly. So, I mean, we know it's making the request just fine. The problem seems to be here at this res.json to turn it into Oh, a response. Okay, I missed that. Okay, a GraphQL client response data. I think that's what I'm missing. So this is a GraphQL client response. Nope. Wait. Like that. Let's try that. So back to here. Hey, no major errors. And so now I can see response data is an option with response data, which then has games, and then here it is. We got it. Bullfirst Dad, really want to sit down with Wasm, but you're trying to not have too many topics in your learning basket at once. Try your best to learn something new in CS every day, but if you spread it too thin, you'll learn very little of it in a lot of topics. I absolutely agree. That being said, it can be viable to like dive into it not for learning purposes, but for like inspiration purposes or like an energy, like sort of like a eating a candy bar. It's like you go in to like give yourself some inspiration, something to look forward to, but you're not really trying to learn. You're just like, oh man, I can't wait until I'm done with my stuff so I can go like with everything else. Current your basket as C, Go, and Rust. That is a full basket. Each of those things could also fill a basket on their own. Okay, so if I wanted to now display this data out, because I kind of like would want to do that. Inside this response, there is a data, and inside of the data, there is a sum. Okay, so it's an option with the response data. And then inside of that is the stuff. Okay, so let's try this. We're going to use a let's just do like game names, so I can have this be a vec an empty vector like that. It'll figure out what this is going to be soon. You wouldn't go above 3 things at once. You don't have a lot of things to do at once, so you spend your days trying to stuff out and reading specs. I get bored when I'm reading specs. Like I'll take a course and I'll take a class and I'll get halfway through it and it'll just start going off on my own. So like I kind of expect that people are going to do it with my stuff too. Is like, okay, halfway through, oh, I know how to do it. I'm unblocked. I'm off to the races, and like continue going that path. Sort of like what I end up doing, and what I'm perfectly fine with everybody else doing too. As long as they get value and like unblocks, that I'm happy. Okay, so we have this response and response data. So now theoretically, I can then say, let's grab this vector out. So let our, actually we're just gonna set it. So like let games equals a new vector. Okay. So, I'll call this game state. Okay, so we're going to create a brand new vector here. Then if I do response dot data, then that's an option. So we're going to unwrap here. Then I have, okay, now I have access to a vec of get games. Let's get like the first one. Oh, then I have ID and name. The name is an option string. That's interesting. So we could map through these to create the names. Okay, so what if I do this? Response dot data. That's an option. So we're gonna unwrap. Games is a vector. So then we're gonna, I can just into iterator here. Then we can map. So I have something. What do I have? I have the get games. So this is the this is like the games from the database. So the response games response. So I want to return response games dot name. Okay, so this is actually just this game. So I want to return that. Name is an option with a string. So let's unwrap, because I want to say that's not optional. Okay, so now I want to collect this, which means now you have to be a vec of string. And then we're going to set this. So we need to async move in here. And do a game state dot set. And your value is going to be the games. Okay. Don't need you anymore. All right. So you're happy. Now down here, if I want to display this, first of all, I have to clone game state to get it in here and also have it available down here. So I'm just going to create a new block around this entire thing. So that way I can do let games state equals. Clone that into here. You're upset now. Oh, I put this in the wrong place. There we go. Okay, so inside this block, we grab you out, we do your thing. This could all go into a function easily. Now game state is this vector here, so we can loop through this here. Oh, there's a way for me to like say exactly what I want it to be. Let's do a owner list. Then for each list item, we need to do a for loop. There is documentation on Yew of how to do this. So I want to do this type of thing, I believe. We're going to take our vector and we're going to iterate through it in just a block inside of here. So we're going to do our game state. Now, game state is this use state handle, but if I dereference it, I get the vector. So I can do a, so I can dereference this here, and now I can do an iter. We're going to map through this. And then for each of those, we're going to create an HTML fragment that has what I wanted. So this is going to be list item. Now it wants me to have a key in here too. We could store the data in here, like the ID, that would be possible too, but I kind of lost that now. So these should be unique, hopefully, kind of, maybe. We'll just do inside of view, key equals game name as well. I don't know if you're stirs or if you're, I might need to clone this and to owned it. We'll see. So if I do that, let's see, what are you upset about? Needs to be a, oh, this is a reference to a string. It needs to be, okay, it could be a stir, but we can, I think, either clone this or to owned it. I think that'll make you happy here. You're unhappy. Doesn't it? Okay, yeah, we're not done with this yet. So iter map, then we do that. I might have to format this instead of like just using a string. Let's see, div, and then we're gonna collect into HTML. So. Well, I got the game, I got these here. What are you upset about? Panicked called and result unwrap on a JS error. Network error when attempting to fetch the resource, but we got these. Wait, where? Oh. Infinite loop. I am requesting this quite often. So here's our problem. The struct loads, so our component loads, and then we send off a request that hits game state and updates it. When we update the game state, that triggers a re-render, which reruns this function, which re-gets the queries, which resets the state, which then re-renders. So infinite loop. We need a use effect. We need a use effect to then be aware if we already have a game state. So we have this empty vector here. So this should be fine. So we're going to use a use effect. All right, you happy? Okay. And at the bottom of this, we're going to return an empty callback, or yeah, an empty closure. So you're happy here. Now, I want to kind of move this use effect inside the block. duplicate that in there, and then we're going to say, okay, all of you inside the use effect. But only do this if game state is empty. So if a dereferenced, actually I don't have to dereference it. If game's state is empty, then I want to return early. That. Otherwise, continue on. I was hoping that, like, I guess they're not identical. Can I do something like this? No, I don't think I can. Fine is if not is empty. Do all that. So okay, if we wait, if game state is empty. If game state is empty, do all this. Otherwise, don't do anything and just return. And so this here is a closure. So you can see here, like, we have closure here, and then the block of it. This is basically just an empty closure that's like doing nothing whatsoever. But use effect, just like use effect in React, requires a function to be returned. And that function is going to run on the close and exit, so we can clean up some stuff. Okay, so you now no longer have an infinite number of gets happening, so we're not spamming our server anymore. And here is the list of our games. Now, if I want to grab the IDs too in here, we might have to create a game struct. But what if in here we have our vector? Okay, so here's like these. Okay, wait. Okay, games. Okay, response. What if I don't do this map? What if I want this get games? And I just put this into the vector here. So I unwrap. Now we have, our response data, so dot games. There we go. So now I have, you are a vector of get games. So then set that. Okay, so now you will be key is this game state. Okay, so you're just game. And for the key, I want to do game dot ID. And for you, it's going to be game dot name. And I think even if it's an option, I think that's okay. Maybe. Are you taking ownership? Oh, it's an option string, doesn't implement display. We can do a unwrap or default. Cannot move out. I don't want to, so I want game dot name. Banzi, hello. Do I want an asref in front of it or afterwards? The name is the, let's see, game is this thing. Okay, the name is this one. So then asref. Then unwrap or default probably doesn't know how to do that. Yeah, okay. So the problem is it's now like it's an option with a reference to a string inside, and like there's no default for a reference to a string. So, oh, fine. Okay. I guess I have to clone it. Then unwrap our default. So now it'll be an empty string here in the case that the game doesn't exist. And we're back to this again. But now, if we take a look at each of these, well, I guess like the LIs don't actually have the keys on them, but we're appropriately putting the key on here for you to sort of like understand what it is. GraphQL black magic. I do like the black magic of GraphQL. It's I think it allows me to do more of what I really want to do, which is like build the apps as opposed to like build the APIs. APIs like are good, but like they're just something in the way of actually getting the business logic done. At least that's my like sort of like how I feel about it these days. So now I've fallen in love with GraphQL, so I use it everywhere I can. But I also use Hasura to set up the GraphQL because I also don't have any patience to set that up myself too. So I just use like layers of black magic to get what I really want. Yew.rs, hello. I have no idea how to properly pronounce your username, so hopefully that was like relatively close. Let's see. So let's review, because we got GraphQL working on the front end here. And so yes, absolutely, ask away. I don't know if I can answer it, but I will do my best. What we did here was we set up our queries. So we have this GraphQL get games query. So I guess like it's get games because of like names here that we have. And then we have our schema that we auto generated. Then we have our GraphQL queries, which is, oh, that's probably what it is, because like this is like game. I could probably just name this like something else. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Get games is fine. So get games then is attached to this query. Back to over here. When the component loads, we run the query in a wasm bindgen future, so in a async block. We create some variables that are empty because we don't have any needed in this query. Then we build out the actual body of it, which this should just be like a JSON string, essentially. We then send that out here. I'm probably going to remove this from the code before well, I mean, in this case, it doesn't really matter. It's going to keyboard Zilby. This is not a real password. So I don't care if this is in a history. We send that out. We then get that back. We get types automatically created for us. And then we're able to stuff that into state and then display that back here. So that is what we did today. Okay, so you have an input type which you need to extend to be able to deal with two different input types. You want to use union types, but it looks like union doesn't support input. I'm missing something, or any suggestions for how to deal with this? I'm not exactly sure. An input type? Which you need to extend to be able to deal with two different input types. And this is for GraphQL, so when you're talking about like input, I guess I'm confused about the word input there. So if we take a look at I don't have very much in here right now. We just have like games with an ID and name. So is your input like the variables that you're talking about? Oh, or are you like doing an insert? Like if we go to a mutation, and we say like, okay, we want to insert games. Yes, the variables. Okay. You have input type we can extend to be able to do with 2 different input types. And union types. Is that a GraphQL type system? So I've never needed to do this. I use query like variables, but not really that advanced usually. It's so like, let's see, is there such a thing as union? I think that might answer your question right here. Now, this might be a Hasura thing. Maybe that is possible in GraphQL, the spec. Maybe Hasura can't do it, but it's possible that this is the issue, is that maybe you can't do that in Apollo, or maybe you can't do that in the GraphQL spec. I'm not sure. So you probably need to have 2 different types, and then choose which one is appropriate. That's my guess, which is a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. Hasura is not perfect, obviously. Like, there are some things that it's missing, but for everything that I've ever tried to do, Hasura has just like allows it and works really great. I love it. So with that being said, it is 8:22, so it's time for me to head off and actually go to my day job. So with that, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Mountain Time, where we'll continue. I think we're gonna start work. We're gonna move next to the back end. I want to be able to do a GraphQL query from Axum. So we can have the ability to do GraphQL from Yew now, and then GraphQL from like the server. And then we'll have it everywhere, which is going to be great. And then we'll just move forward and figure out what the next thing is after that. So with that being said, have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you next time. Bye.